Welcome to another episode of StuTube, guys. Um, First of all, as always, I just want to do a quick audio visual check, make sure that you guys can see my charts and you can hear me clearly. Oh boy. Check something. Okay, perfect. I think I got rid of my feedback there. Yeah, just let me know if you can hear everything, see everything. Yeah, basically, guys, I have been away from home quite a bit the last couple of weeks, out of the country, out in the wilderness, stuff like that. So I haven't been streaming very much. But yeah, basically, I was actually just out of the house and something caught my eye. So I entered a short and I figured I better rush home and get a little bit of a stream going here. First of all, we're coming up towards the daily close. Yesterday we had our weekly close. Today, I believe, is actually our monthly close as well in about 45 minutes. So, just all a few things that I wanted to look at. But yeah, basically, Bitcoin is at a very interesting level. There's no other way to say it. There's a few different ways this could go right now. Last week, I was actually feeling a little more bullish than I have been in recent weeks. However, something with last night's weekly close just isn't sitting quite right with me. So I want to take a look at several different time frames, some different indicators, and so on. But with that, hopefully you're all doing fantastic. How is everyone feeling about the market? Right now, I mean, things are very volatile. So no matter what way I'm leaning right now, like me personally, right now, I'm a little more bearish than bullish once again. That didn't take long. But there is still things that I'm considering on the bullish side. So I don't want to sound too bearish right now. I just have a couple of red flags that I want to bring to your attention. And when I'm taking these shorts, like right now, I'm in a short. I already closed a quarter of it. We got a nice dump after taking it. I'm hoping that we go significantly lower, and I'll get into that in a second. Basically, the trade that I took is just a simple strategy that I've been talking about on this channel quite often. Just how I use the indicators and Fibonacci's and structure breaks and that sort of thing. But yeah, basically, just to look at things really quickly on the shorter time frame, the reason for me taking this trade is that strategy that I had mentioned. When I look for my auto charting tools, this is a MDX ALGO indicator. When I look at the auto charting tools, I really like pulling Fibonacci's from these lower high signals or higher low signals, whatever, depending which way I'm looking at trading. Just some excellent confluence with those. So right now, since I have started taking profit, my stop loss is already at break even. Maybe I'll find some more setups here. They might be a little higher risk, or I might end up getting stopped out of the rest of my position. Maybe I can find something new. That would be great too. But yeah, basically I was looking at this as, we were starting to lose this little bit of a trend we had to the upside. You can see that we had this little structure loss. It wasn't actually a higher low, that, or not a confirmed higher low for the way I look at structure. But eventually we did end up losing this structure as well. And you can see that this is kind of the order block that pushed us up through this little bit of resistance we had here. So when we ended up losing that level, that's where I started looking for pullbacks. And again, when I saw this lower high signal, just a good sign that, hey, things may be turning directions, right? Because we had higher highs, we had higher lows, and then we ended up losing that. So basically just pulling a Fibonacci from the lower high signal, ended up getting that 786 retest, ended up starting a short position there. Already started taking profits here my first quarter, and another quarter when we ended up getting this big green candle, because it just looked like, there's a chance that we're seeing some sort of a strong recovery. I just wanted to make sure I pay myself a little bit, and then basically get on stream here and start going over what I'm looking at here. Because when I'm entering these positions, it's a 1 minute chart, so take it for what it is. I more so like scalping and stuff, but obviously it's hard if if I see a trade setup come up. By the time I can actually get here and streaming, unfortunately, it may be 10 minutes or 20 minutes later, and that same opportunity may not be there. But just to kind of go over what I'm looking at here, and then also looking at the longer time frames, because as I was just talking about, it's something on the weekly that's actually got me flipped bearish once again. And so basically what I'm looking at here, I'm actually going to delete this fib because I don't think that's necessary yet. First of all, I'm going to talk about the good. The good that I do see is, yes, obviously on this drop here, we never did break this lower low, right? So the fact that we did set, I'm going to call it a higher low. I don't actually consider it that because we never actually broke this lower high structure that I've been looking at for quite a while. I'll get into that on shorter time frames where it's more clear in a little bit. But basically, this was a sign of strength that, we never set another lower low at that point. And something more recently is that on the weekly time frame with the RSI, we did actually break this downtrend that I had. So that's good. Yeah, yes, it's an early sign that, hey, maybe things are about to absolutely blow up to the upside. I'm all for that. I was quite openly bullish last week. I thought things were looking up, but it's just how this weekly candle ended up just rubbing me the wrong way, basically. So first I'm going to look at this on the 4-hour just because it is actually more clear how I have this structure labeled, just the lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs. So the last macro Fibonacci I have, and I know I talk about this every stream, but since we had our last low, our lowest low, and the highest point between our last two lower lows, this is my confirmed lower high, and this is right around 70K. And that has not broken yet. And I've had this Fibonacci pulled here for, I'm pretty sure, basically almost the whole time that I've been streaming on this channel. It's been well over a month that I've had this Fibonacci outlined. And ever since we bounced from that 52.5K, I mean, that was my target that I figured, there's a good chance we end up getting all the way up to my 786, 886, because that's how I treat every time frame, right? I mean, I show this to you on the 1 minute, the 5 minute, the hourly, 4 hourly, weekly, whatever. That's the Fibonacci pocket that I personally really like to use. And that's why basically going from here, I figured, 786 is quite reasonable. I'm actually shocked that, we got right above the 786 and never quite filled this entire pocket. I was actually expecting us to end up hitting the 886, which would be around 67.6K. Not only that Fibonacci, but also the fact that this diagonal resistance line would have lined up very nicely with that level. We never got it. We got weakness before that. So that's just a little bit concerning to me. And if I actually, so let's just see where that is pulled from. So that's 70,000 US dollars. If I pull a Fibonacci from that, that would have been this high because this is our lowest low. So when I pull this Fibonacci, notice where those weekly candles last night happen. I mean, this weekly candle close last night on its own, I know a lot of people thought it was quite bullish. It's not so much that candle on its own looks bad. It's where it landed and where it closed that I really have a problem with. And that is quite concerning to me. The fact that we closed the candle, we wicked up just above the 786, candle bodies closing right along that 786. You guys know how I feel about those Stuber fibs. Hell, I named it after myself. I love them so much. So to see that with still having this horizontal downtrend going because we have not broke that lower high yet, that's just something that's really caught my attention, and I can't ignore that. So yeah, that is a little bit alarming if you ask me, because so let's just say I'm going to get rid of this just to kind of show you what I mean. Let's just see the first time this happened, right? When we ended up breaking this structure here and we got our first real bounce after that big sell-off, notice what happened. We wicked into that box, but the candle bodies were closing just below that 786, and that made us absolutely dump off a cliff. What happened next? I actually don't know. Let's check the next one here. Next swing, notice the exact same thing, right? We wick into it. I guess that one doji candle or bullish hammer, whatever you want to call that, I guess technically did close above, but you can see the candle bodies are closing right around that 786, and it just has not ended well for Bitcoin the last few times that's happened. So I want to be clear about this. This does not have to happen again. That's the thing with trading. I mean, I'm trading shorter time frames anyways, but this is a big red flag to me. I'm not going to lie about it. When yesterday, even yesterday during the afternoon, I was still bullish on this trend. It's just when I looked right at the weekly close that I started to get an issue with this. So, a couple conflicting stories, right? We do have the RSI broke out. It's really just that Fibonacci and where that weekly close that I really don't like. Bringing up the ALGO master here. We did also get a sell signal. I mean, that was a few weeks back, but this is just this is the new indicator that I've been talking about the last couple streams. You can see that we do have this showing resistance up ahead as well, basically right at our lower high structure there at 70K. That's where this is basically showing our sell signal. Again, doesn't have to happen, doesn't happen every time. But just to show you how well a lot of these have played out, really, I think this is the only sell signal on the weekly chart with this indicator that ended poorly. I mean, here we have all the back tested data. You can see this is basically based off it shows the trade count and, net profit, win rate, everything. So really, this is the only one that I'm seeing that was very poor. The rest of these, I mean, even this one, it gave us the sell signal at this one. So it caught a very nice move to the downside. This one obviously caught the COVID dump. This buy signal, beautiful. This buy signal, beautiful. I guess this buy signal, no, yeah, even that, it got a nice month pump after that signal. So just basically, something to consider is that a lot of things are starting to show red flags, right? That's really all I'm getting at with this weekly chart. Hopping back over to the 4 hour, yeah, nothing has really changed. One thing I did want to look out for was the daily actually doesn't look too bad. Let me just bring up the daily chart. What was I looking at last night? So basically the fact that we did end up breaking this high here, I know it's not the macro higher high that I was looking for. I really want this one at 70K to be taken out. But it is what it is. We did get a close above this level. This would be kind of the order block area that ended up pushing us through that resistance. So that's where where we're trading at right now. Anywhere in this red candle here, basically is where I want the bulls to find support if they're going to make some sort of a bullish move. So far the daily does still have support. It's just looking weak, right? And the fact that I'm mixing that in with the Stuber fib, the macro bearish one, there's just a lot of red flags. RSI starting to drop off a little bit on the daily. Let's go back to the 4 hour. Yeah, we are just struggling with this level. And also on the 4 hour, you can see that we did actually lose higher low structure on this little trend here. Because technically we had this red candle and we did end up just closing above. We obviously lost that structure and we are going to the downside since that. So yeah, to see that after testing that macro 786, there's just some concern here. I mean, technically, yes, support is support until it's broken. It's just starting to look weak, right? So really the daily chart is, in my opinion, the best looking just because we are technically at support. It's the weekly that has me very concerned. Let's talk about what potential scenarios are. And I know nobody wants to hear this because I've actually been told that quite a few times in the past. Nobody wants to acknowledge that this is a possibility. I'm not saying it's probable. I'm not saying it's going to happen. But if this trade setup was on any other time frame, I would basically be eyeing up a move down to the 786, if not a little bit lower. Obviously there's been some very bullish fundamentals recently. We have rate cuts. We have election season right around the corner. Generally speaking, I expect the markets to do quite well around election time because obviously, they're throwing money into the economy. They want numbers to look better. They just want to inject the markets, basically the whole economy as a whole. But that doesn't mean that we have to go straight up from here. It means, we could just get one very violent shakeout and then go absolutely parabolic from there. That's absolutely a possibility. There's a possibility that we don't drop at all. Maybe the low is in and we are going to just break out soon. And you know what? If we start breaking that lower high structure I was talking about, we get back above 70K. I think absolutely Bitcoin's going to be looking very juicy for the bulls. But again, resistance is resistance until it's broken. So just be cautious. I mean, and that's not to say I'm overly bearish at these levels. I'm just more so looking at playing resistance, right? I mean, generally speaking, it's smarter to be selling or shorting into resistance rather than FOMOing long right into resistance, right? Generally speaking, you want to be buying support, selling resistance. So that's basically how I'm looking at it. And oh yeah, we came right back down. So technically, we could be, gearing up for some sort of a long, potential long setup. I'm not interested in taking it. I'm more on the short side right now, especially at this isn't a higher low, it's a lower low. So there's just, the trend is working against us here. Especially the fact that we had a nice little bounce here and then, right back down to these levels. So we're going to have to see. For one, I'm hoping that we go much lower personally, but that is because I'm already in a short position. So I am a little biased right now. But yeah, so far, so good. I think even if we do find support, I expect us to go a little bit lower because we haven't actually tested the 786, 886 yet. That would run us basically from 63.2K down to 63.1K. And then the double bottom area, the bottom of this range would be right around 63K. So we are getting close to support. I just don't know how much credit I want to give that support because of the macro scenario here. The thing is, if we end up breaking out to the upside and I have to start longing again, I mean, I'm absolutely for that. The thing is, for me to switch my bias, this is not a very big move to the upside where then I can totally change my bias. Whereas a lot of people are going to hang on to that bullish bias basically until, and again, that's if this even happens. But if we end up getting that dump to down here, you're going to start reading that Bitcoin is dead again. Everyone's going to start panic selling, and that's going to be a perfect bottom if it does happen, right? I mean, obviously it doesn't have to happen. The market does not care what I think personally, but that's just kind of how I'm looking at it for now. And obviously the short I took, I'm not aiming for 28K or 22K or anything like that. I'm just open to the idea that the market may be grinding in that direction. And if it happens, I just don't want to be blindsided. I don't want to have full on moon boy mentality right now. I understand that I'm cautiously bearish right now, basically. I'm open to the idea of smashing all-time highs and then going parabolic and carrying on with the trend for, into election and into next year even. I really do think there's going to be a bear market that starts next year, but obviously anything can happen between now and then. But as it stands right now, I'm just leaning a little more to the bearish side again. So basically, I just wanted to hop on here, do some streaming with you guys, show why I ended up taking this short while I was out of the house. It's no different than a whole bunch of the setups that I've been showing on these streams previously, these streams and on my own channel and in the MDX ALGO group. Some of the basic strategies that I love using, and a very simple one, right? I love looking for structure breaks and Fibonacci's. That's my favorite way to trade. On top of that, when I can throw in some of the indicators like the auto charting tools and get these pivot points printed out just as some added confluence, then that's even better, right? Another thing that led me to take this was a shift in signals. I know this is something I talk about quite often, is I like to look for which direction, and I know this looks like a lot right now. I like to look for which direction these buy and sell signals are going. And basically up here, we had this little shift. We had sell signals trending to the downside and we had buy signals trending to the downside. So on top of that lower high signal that printed, we also started printing lower sell signal, lower sell signal, lower buy signal, lost the higher low structure here. There was just a lot of things going for that, pulling the trigger there. So just another way I love using these indicators as well, right? It's not so much that I use these indicators for each individual signal that it prints, but I love watching it for which way it's printing the trend, right? And like I said, we have lower signals printing. That's just an opportunity for me to start looking for those bearish Stuber fib pulls rather than looking for the bullish ones, right? For example, I never took a long based on this high or low, even though it probably would have played out there. Actually, I'm just curious. if that would have played out. Let me just ditch this indicator here. If I pulled a fib from this higher low here where the price ended up getting to, yep, absolutely it would have played out, right? Because I would have got the pullback into the 786, 886. First target is that 214. So technically that would have played out too, but I had no interest in it just because, like I was saying, we had these signals trending to the downside. So, and on top of what I was talking about with the other charts, it just didn't look too bullish to me. So I'm still favoring the bearish side right now. Right now, it looks like we basically reached my main target for this short. I'll have to check the other device. Oh yeah, I definitely would have taken some more profits off that. So yeah, perfectly filling the 786, 886 again. So it makes sense that we get some sort of a bounce here. But again, I personally have no interest in longing this. This has pulled off a lower low signal. I'm looking at this as basically more so a take profit from a short range rather than entering a long range, just because of the way that I'm favoring the markets right now. Again, that's the whole being cautious side of things, right? I'm not holding this short until we just absolutely nuke off a cliff. I'm still making sure I pay myself because you can't bank on home run trades. Basically, especially when you're a scalper like me, I like to start taking profits very quickly so that even if I'm wrong, I can still technically make money, right? Or at least soften the blow by a bunch if I start taking profits relatively early. So yeah, so far so good. This short is juicy. It is feeling good right now. There's actually a special feeling when you're making money to the downside. I know not everyone wants to hear it, but when you're making money to the downside, it's a whole different feeling because anybody can make money in a bull market just by buying and holding things. But shorting, there's just a little different aspect to it. It's actually, I'm going to consider it more actual trading. If you don't care which way the direction goes, all you care about is volatility. That's a good sign that you're more into the trading side of things rather than looking for a lottery ticket, right? So that's what I'm excited about. I really don't care if we end up dumping down here or we break all-time highs. I'm just excited that the market's been volatile for a while now. It's been juicy trading. Actually wanted to check the 4-hour and see what some of these indicators are saying. The RSI is getting to oversold territory, but that could just mean we're getting a lot of selling pressure. But the fact that we're getting that near support level, again, just another reason why I'm taking some profits off of my short, right? Because yeah, technically we're at support levels. Oh, this was a big one, actually. Another reason why I think that we could drop significantly lower from here is something that I've pointed out with this liquidations indicator quite often, is that since we started climbing up here, you can see we basically came into my 786, 886 fib pocket, grabbed those high leverage liquidations, and then reversed. I don't even think we quite made it to the very top. But you can see that we grabbed most of the liquidity to the upside. I mean, really, if let's just get rid of some of the newer stuff just so it looks more obvious. But you can see all these gold and yellow bars above the price. I mean, those are just liquidation levels of 50 and 100x leverage positions. And you can see that now after we grabbed all that to the upside, we tested my macro resistance finally. And now look at all the liquidity down below us. This is a big red flag to me. It makes a lot of sense that the market maker would want to push the price to the downside and grab a lot of this. Even if we are going to carry to the upside, it would make a lot of sense to grab that first. And I'm just curious now, if I pull up a Fibonacci, I can pretty much tell you if I go from my lowest low here to where we have topped out so far, notice that most of that liquidations are just slightly above the 786. I'll actually even go from this high over here. Let's just out of curiosity, let's check it out. And I mean, basically the same thing, right? Just a whole bunch of liquidations right around that 786 fib, even a little bit just past the 886. So I think it makes a lot of sense. There's just some things showing in the chart that I'm open to the idea of potential downside. That's all. It's not that I'm overly bearish on crypto as a whole or anything. Actually, I'm very bullish on crypto as a whole. But it's not like I'm overly bearish right now. It's just that there's obviously reasons to not be a moon boy, if nothing else. Oh, there we go. See, lost the super fib. We are right back down at the bottom of the range. So there is still technically support there. But again, I have zero interest in long in this market right now. This weekly chart, again, I just can't get over this. Every time I look at it, I feel more and more bearish. Just how perfectly that weekly candle closed against my macro resistance. You guys know that. And for those of you who have been in my streams previously on my own channel in MDX's group, or just on previous channels here on the Financial Summit, or previous streams rather, you'll know I won't shut the hell up about the 786, 886, as you can tell from this stream. And the fact that we closed right there and just immediate reaction out of it, I think that's quite telling, to be honest. I believe it was the monthly didn't look so bad though. So I want to zoom out even further. So this is going to close in about 18 minutes. This will be a monthly close. One thing that I really like about this monthly close from a bullish perspective is that we're obviously holding above these candle bodies over here from last market cycle all-time high. So yes, we did get below it briefly, but we are still trying to hold that level. If you want to go by the wicks, I mean, technically doesn't look quite as good, right? We had this one fake out above basically, and other than that, we're just wicking up to that level and getting rejected. So it's tough to say. The last stream I did, I think we were actually like at the top of where this monthly candle has topped out so far. We're trading around there, and I was actually saying that, we have to see how this monthly candle closes, but it was looking like a beautiful engulfing candle, but I feel like we kind of lost that advantage now. So yeah, we're going to have to see there. Honestly, the monthly doesn't concern me as much as the weekly does. But same thing here on the weekly. It's looking like we're getting very close to an engulfing candle. And obviously we have 6 days left until that closes. Just something to be a little bit cautious of, that would just be another bearish signal. Oh boy. Yeah. Just look at us dumping. Yeah. I know across social media and stuff, I know a lot of people were getting quite bullish last week. And honestly, like I said, myself as well. I saw reasons to be bullish. I just felt like the Bears are kind of missing their opportunity. But with this week, I have a feeling this week is going to see a lot of blood. Happy to be proven wrong. Very happy to be proven wrong. That's something I want to make clear. But I'm also very happy to, make money on the downside by, use some of those profits to buy the dip. If we get an actual dip that I've been expecting, the actual big one that I've been talking about since June, if that happens, then I'll be laughing rather than people who are just trying to FOMO long into resistance every time. Right. Let me just, we still have a ton of resistance up above us here. Even the fact that we even dropped my 115 fib, generally speaking, on a Stuber fib setup, that's kind of my invalidation, where even if we drop past that and get some sort of a bounce, it's so often that we just end up carrying on to the downside. So obviously doesn't have to happen, but it is something worth mentioning. Indicator printing out third take profit. So that's another thing, right? With this ALGO master indicator. And actually, I'm going to delete these fibs because we already know why I am in that short position. Everything else on this, other than my entry, this blue dotted line here, everything else on my screen right now is mapped out by the ALGO master indicator. So it's automatically, so these are some Keltner bands. We got these supply zones. We got demand zones. I guess we're not seeing them now because we have a ton of resistance and no support right now. But these red boxes, if we had support, there'd be green boxes. Supply and demand zones, automatically mapping them out as we go. I just absolutely love this indicator. I feel like I almost don't have to chart anymore. I feel like I'm going to get rusty, but it just it nails everything. There's so many features that you can customize on this thing to set it up the way you exactly want it. But yeah, I like to keep my charts fairly clean, so I actually don't have too many things loaded up. But you can also load up, daily opens, weekly opens, quarterly, monthly, all that sort of stuff as well. So, and I think you can even do automatic Fibonacci's. I personally like laying out my own. Yeah. Stuber fibs, Uber fibs, manual default. Yeah. So very cool indicator. Absolutely loving it. This is a fairly new one. I think it's only been live for 2 weeks or so, if that, and absolutely loving it. So, that being said, guys, if you do find these MDX algo indicators interesting, you want to give them a try, there's a link down below that actually gives an additional 10% discount on top of current promotions at checkout. I've personally been using these indicators for well over a year at this point, actually, or wait, over 2? I think maybe even 2. Losing track of time now. But basically, the only other indicator I really use at this point is the RSI, because there's very specific divergences I look for that. Other than that, I don't use any indicators other than this group of MDX algo indicators. And there's a whole slew of them, over a dozen, each with their own wonderful features and to fit anybody's trading style, basically. But yeah, I've been using them religiously every day now for years. So take from that what you will. Let's get some tunes going here. I think I've kind of gone over what I wanted to on the longer time frame, so I'm really just going to babysit, the 1 minute, maybe 3 minute, 5 minute, and kind of watch what's going to happen here. So I just want to get some nice gentle tunes going. Let me know if it gets too aggressively loud, you can't hear me, anything like that. Or if it just gets annoying, let me know. But let's find something here. Oh, there you go. And then I should catch up on some messages here. Let me know if the music's too loud or anything, but I'm basically going to sit here and babysit this. And yeah, if you have any questions, by all means, shoot them my way in the chat. I'll answer what I can. Satoshi just sold. Yeah, that's kind of what it looked like there for a little bit. Some other exchanges closed the weekly just a hair above the 786. Yeah, that's the thing. Actually, worth noting that 786 I had on the weekly, that was a logarithmic chart, so that may change things, or just if my points are just very slightly off, because really when you're zooming out on a weekly, I mean, it's easy to move those fib levels very slightly, but just basically right around that 786, it's just closed right at resistance basically. Bear money is a rush. Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. Direction doesn't matter. Find profits in the charts by trading as structure demands. 100%, bro. Love that attitude. BTC playing liquidity Pac-Man. Yeah, and you know what? That's where I love, I assume you had mentioned it when I was looking at these liquidation levels, but absolutely, we came to the bottom, we grabbed this liquidity to the downside, we reversed, went to the upside, grabbed that liquidity. Now we're changing directions again. Very cool indicator there. I don't really use it for as far as looking for entries per se, but as far as looking for, just that additional confluence of which way do I think the direction is going to go. Even though I'm bullish, does it make more sense that we retest lower or go higher? Well, when I turn this on, there's actually way more liquidity to the downside currently. So I personally think it makes more sense that we would go to the downside, right? Give us that CME 5354K. Yeah, that would be absolutely beautiful. And where is that? So that would actually be relatively close to a 786, 886, right? Because the 886 pulled from this pivot down here would be right around 54.1K. If we pulled from the actual lowest low, then yeah, the 786 is at 52.7K ish. And the 886 is at 50, well, right around 51K. So yeah, there's potential for a nice big swing to the downside, but anything can happen, right? So 3-year monthly cup and handle. I know what you're talking about. I know a lot of influencers talk about that. That's messy. I don't know. I could say that, yeah, sure, it looks like a cup handle. I don't know. I'm more of a fan of Fibonacci's and just horizontal levels more so than chart patterns. I mean, yes, I still do follow chart patterns a little bit, but I think they're less reliable. Me personally, right? Everyone trades differently. We could have the same trend lines, same indicators, everything, and I guarantee we'd trade the market completely different. But so it all depends what works for you. I just think that's messy. I think a lot of influencers who have been calling for, bullish nonstop, I think a lot of people are reaching at this point for ideas in the charts of why we have to be bullish. And again, I'm totally open to the idea of being wrong. It's just the fact when I look at this 4-hour chart, there's no room for misinterpretation that we have a downtrend here. Just because what I have mapped out, right? Low, lower, low, lower, low, lower, low. There's no arguing that. That's not a bias. That's not interpretive. That's just how it is. That is just lower lows and lower highs. There's no way around that. Yes, that structure can change. Every trend changes eventually, right? So if we take out this level, I'll be very bullish. But as it stands right now, I think a lot of people are reaching. And I want to be clear about this, guys. I don't think this bull market is over. So even though I sound bearish, yes, I'm looking for a potential big move to the downside. Understand that I think if a downside move happens, I do think it'll be quick, or more so the recovery would be quick once the bottom's actually found. And again, none of this needs to happen, but that's just a gut feeling that I have that, I just think that if we do go down, even if we get a bear market sized move, I don't necessarily think it's going to lead to an actual bear market. It would just be something like a final flush kind of, hopefully before election season, and then election happens and markets get the green light to go ahead, whatever, right? This is all just theories at this point. I don't trade based on theories, but it's just a good way to look ahead and just be expecting things. And then if the chart agrees with that, you start breaking structure levels and stuff, then great, right? Do I think the price is dropping because of Israel invasion in Lebanon? I think that there's a lot of uncertainty there, which is kind of keeping the price from moving, maybe. I don't know. See, here's the thing. I am not a news guy. I am not a fundamental guy. I actively go out of my way to avoid news. I avoided Trump speeches. I avoided, anything, even Jerome Powell. I purposely ignore all of the fundamentals because I don't want it to affect how I'm looking at the charts, because if anything fundamentally that happens is going to affect the price, you'll see those structure breaks. So yeah, we could say this is happening because of, Israel and stuff. But everything that's happened so far, I predicted on June 13th. I'll see if I can, I don't know exactly. I don't want to waste time and find it, but I made a video on June 13th, basically talking about, hey, we had this structure break here and it's looking like we're back up to the Stuber fib pocket. And I was getting very bearish at these levels while everyone else was getting bullish. And then when we dropped, people had reasons. Oh, it happened because of this. It happened because of that. And, any of those fundamentals, I had no clue about. I'm just looking at the charts, but there's always going to be something in the media in the news, there's always going to be both sets of articles printed and ready to go, right? If the price goes up, it was because this happened. If the price goes down, it was because of this happened. But really, at the end of the day, it's, in my opinion, market makers doing their things. Yes, obviously, those fundamentals can push the price past, like, past support or past resistance, for example, and, nudge it to get that breakout. But generally speaking, I mean, the charts will tell that story if it's going to matter, right? But yeah, I mean, absolutely. And that's why I often say that, I think there's absolutely possibility for a black swan event. We have a lot of wars going on. We have important elections going on. We have a lot of things that could lead to some sort of a black swan event, that we do get a bear market sized move before we carry on the bull market. Again, doesn't have to happen. It's just something worth considering. What am I looking for to fully close my short? Basically, when I enter a position, I'm never really looking to close my full short or long. I take partial. When I'm entering or exiting positions, I'm laddering in, I'm laddering out. So at this point, as my positions move, basically I'm either going to get stopped out at 63,666, which is basically just below my entry, basically. But basically, after I close my initial half, because I always close half of my position relatively quickly, make sure I pay myself, reduce that risk, and so on. After that, I just kind of nibble profits, and either at some point I'll end up adding to the position and updating my stop loss or something like that, and then maybe it gets tagged. Other than that, I'm just kind of looking at a stress-free approach of just let it run, because I'm not banking on home run trades, but if they end up happening, I still want to catch it with part of my position, right? So yeah, if this just keeps moving to the downside, I mean, yeah, I'd love to ride it to those ridiculously low targets that I was talking about on the weekly chart, but obviously I'd have a very small position left open if we got there, because I'd be nibbling on the way. Have I tried Bull X? Well, I'm not sure what that is. Is that an exchange or? Zeus, quit lying, Stu. It's all over. The whole world is headed. Yeah, exactly. Bitcoin's dead again for the 700th time, etc. The end of times 2024. Seen the movie? Yeah, there you go. You never know. Mark my words, all-time high before February 2025. Not before? Not after, you mean? Okay, I'm not going to check the Discord quite yet. I'll wait until I'm out of here so I don't accidentally mess something up here. But I will absolutely check out the microcaps in a bit. Whoops. November, February, you're thinking all-time highs for November? See, and the thing is, the one thing holding me against my actual bearish feelings of, I think the structure is there that we could have an absolutely massive nuke to the downside. The reason why I think that's becoming less likely is just because the election is getting so close. I can't shake the feeling that there is going to be some sort of massive bullish reaction to the election. 4-year cycles, Bitcoin market cycles, Bitcoin halving cycles, elections, all those things kind of line up with those 4-year cycles. And yeah, I absolutely think that all-time highs are not that far away. I just think that there's absolutely some red flags that, it may not be right away. We might see significantly lower prices before we see higher prices. Here we have a buy signal, but it's obviously a much lower buy signal. So I'm not taking this all too serious yet. If we see two demand zones kind of stack up on top of each other, like if this green box ends up getting a nice brighter greener box inside of it, at that point I might end up opening a hedge long as well, just in case we are going to take off to the upside here. But so far I'm just hanging on to the rest of my short for now. Microgems. What Discord? I believe that person's talking about MDX Crypto's Discord. Yeah, exactly. The normal cycle. I agree 100%. Like, I do not think this market cycle is over. I just think that there's a chance for a much bigger correction than what people are willing to stomach. In exchange for ultra shitties, you can set limits, stop losses, take profits. It's super smooth from what I've seen. Oh, nice. Once we got up to my band, starting to see a little bit of resistance, but I'm actually impressed with how far this did bounce up here. We could very easily lose this trend. Basically, that's where we had our last little order block right here. If you're really micro-analyzing the 1 minute here, if we end up dropping that, I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, if we end up closing below this, wouldn't be surprised to test some sort of a Stuber fib and come back down. Carry on. But we'll see. Oh, nice. Yeah, dollar cost average in 2022 during the bear market, and haven't put any money in since. Just following that normal cycle. Yeah, and honestly, probably not a bad idea, right? Like, that's the thing. If you were buying in, the thing is, a lot of people wait until they start hearing about it in the media and stuff again. And, there's a lot of people who are FOMOing in at these levels into the market and then selling at these levels. But if you were playing things properly and you were accumulating anywhere down here, really, you're sitting good. And that's my case as well. Is I was quite bullish when right after the FTX collapse happened, basically. I started getting very bullish when we ended up in this region here, as we started, finding support, just coiling up, getting a nice little W shape here. I was quite bullish, and I was heavily dollar cost averaging in at that time. So when people were telling me that I was an idiot for selling 10% of my or 15% of my portfolio at 68,000 US dollars, and that I was going to miss the bull market, no, I'm fine. I'll be fine. If we carry on, I still have most of my spot bags, but it makes a lot more sense, in my opinion. If you were buying at actual good levels, it doesn't hurt to pay yourself, right? Even if we do carry on higher, it's totally okay to pay yourself along the way, right? Love the up and down of the market, let you fill up your bags. Started using the 1 minute for about a month. Really enjoy it so far, but I'm very conservative with my risk, not full degen yet. See, and that's the thing. Trading the 1 minute is not for everybody. I know I say this every week or every video basically, but understand that I mostly like looking at the 1 minute and stuff because I personally like trading shorter time frames. But also when I'm streaming, it's obviously a lot easier to get live examples because they happen all the time, of certain setups and that sort of thing. It's just obviously a lot more entertaining if we're watching the live analysis that, it all plays out very quickly, right? But trading the 1 minute is not for everybody. But structure, the way I look at structure, the way I pull Fibonacci's, the way I look at my indicators, all that sort of stuff, it's all the same, whether it's the 1 minute, the 5 minute, the 1 hour, 4 hour, daily, weekly, whatever. Structure works the same, right? And a lot of people have a hard time setting that aside. And, a lot of people who struggle trading the 1 minute, for example, are entering the 1 minute, but looking for the type of move that you'd get on a 4 hour chart and not paying yourself quickly. Like, generally speaking, if I enter on whatever time frame within 10 candles, there's a good chance that I've closed a quarter or half of it already. It's just a good rule of thumb that I find that helps me remember to trade what time frame I'm actually trading is, if it's a 1 minute chart, within 10 minutes, my position's different. If I'm on the 1 hour, within 10, 12 hours, things might be different. 4 hour, then obviously it's longer, right? But just hanging on to things too long can obviously devastate the account. Remember to play what you're playing, basically. Because like I said, on this short I took up here, I was already taking profits here. Because I'm playing the range first, and being that this was the range that I was playing, unfortunately the first target is not that far away, but I'm playing the range first, and being that's where my fib is pulled, that's obviously the range that I had, so I'm starting to pay myself there, and that's where I'm catching the runner with the rest, right? But trading the 1 minute, it can lead to over trading, over leveraging, revenge trading, all those bad habits that we should avoid doing, right? But so it's not for everybody. Do your own research, form your own opinions. I think most people should trade longer time frames, like a 1 hour or 4 hour. But I personally trade the shorter time frames better because I just like to know very quickly if my position is going to be a winner or a loser, basically. I don't want to wait days or weeks and then find out that I got to find a new position and I didn't make any money for that long. That hurts. Whereas on the shorter time frame, I feel more relaxed because I know that there's going to be another Fibonacci entry, within a few hours, basically. There'll be something that I can get into on a shorter time frame. Believe the prior bull market was suppressed because of inflation, which is why we hit new all-time highs earlier this year, but those are not the cycle highs. I agree and disagree with parts of that. And I could be wrong here, but I agree that these are not the cycle highs yet. I do not think this is the all-time high of this market cycle, but I do think that, it's very possible a bigger correction. The previous bull market being suppressed because of inflation, I would say inflation was a big driving factor of why we had the bull market, because yes, inflation got scary and stuff like that, and that could have ended it quickly, but also consider how much money got injected into the economy, which wasn't there before that, and how many people were getting stimulus and all sorts of things. So there was other factors other than just the inflation that were going for the other side of things as well. So I don't know if that's necessarily true, but absolutely possible. I'm not a fundamental guy. How's everyone else feeling about the market? Like, is anybody in any interesting trades right now? Anybody excessively bullish, excessively bearish, don't know what the hell's going on? Yeah, let's get some pretty colors going on the charts. That's really the only feature I use on that indicator. That's an old one, but I love the way it looks, my chart. Effective and beautiful. Yeah, speaking of that, guys, obviously, like I said earlier, if these indicators, the MDX ALGO indicators I use, do interest you, there's that link down below that gives an additional 10% discount on top of current promotions at the checkout. Absolutely love these indicators. Use them religiously every single day. Chaos, good to see ya. Yeah, I'm not interested in scalping longs right now, to be honest. I'm just sticking with my short. Pi cycle divergence on the daily has you concerned? I'm not going to get into it because I just don't. I haven't really looked at that, and I don't want to accidentally do it wrong. I keep my trading fairly simple, you guys. I basically look at basic structure breaks, and from there look for Fibonacci's, and from there a second opinion from the indicators that I use, looking for that additional confluence. Getting into a demand zone here printed by the indicator. It's nice to see the demand zone and this buy signal lining up here. So yes, there's potential for a long scalp, but again, I'm just favoring the bearish side right now, and being it's a lower trending buy signal, I'm just less into it. If you wanted to look for a new short opportunity, something that's just catching my eye right now a little bit is, since we have this lower low and lower low, I'm going to treat the highest point between the two like our lower high on this current trend. And we could look at, so actually notice where we ended up finding a rejection there, right at the 786. You guys, I think you guys are starting to see why I love the 786, 886 fibs so much. Even if they don't hold, you can just see that there's so often some kind of a reaction at those levels. Wave master indicator. Notice it had a lot of green going on down here, as well as that bullish pivot there when we got that nice little reaction to the upside. But obviously, since this is a 1 minute, I mean, that scalp came and gone, and that's not a strategy that I trade on its own. But nice to see that wave master doing that. Recently, we've had the opposite. As we topped out near the 786 there, you can see that we got this bearish pivot. Just something going with that there as well. But yeah, let's just let this play out for a little bit here. Guys, if you do appreciate these streams, appreciate my outlook on the markets, kind of my trading strategies, how I look at the indicators, how I look at Fibonacci's, all that sort of stuff, do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe to the Financial Summit here so you don't miss my streams here, as well as there's other very good analysts and traders on here as well. So yeah, do yourselves a favor and follow this channel as well as my own YouTube channel, Stu Trading, all one word. Sometimes I do my own streams and stuff like that, but yeah, so far so good. Looks like the Bears are trying to take control again here. So let's just see what happens. 51 people watching right now. I just want to say thank you guys for joining and watching these streams here. Hopefully you are finding some value in these, how I'm looking at things and so on. You guys keep enjoying these streams and I'll keep doing them now that I'm, back in the country and stuff like that, doing a little less traveling and finished my canoe trip and all that sort of stuff. So I should be around a little bit more regularly for the next little bit till I decide to leave again. But yeah, busy month I just had. So good to be back, and yeah, good to be doing these streams again, just in time for volatility to kick off like this. It's great. Really aiming for this liquidity down here. My stream time, yeah, very random. I personally like streaming around the daily close, when Asia market's gonna wake up and stuff like that. That's kind of the time that I usually find myself around the house and, not out kiteboarding or canoeing and stuff like that. But yeah, very random. Like I said, I was actually out of the house, and when I saw this trade, I took it and I just kind of rushed home so that I could stream. So yeah, very random. Some good bullish divs on the 15, you say, Chaos. Any specific indicator or just like looking at the price action itself? I see we have this regular bullish divergence on the Wave Master down here. Good to see there, but again, the unfortunate part is this did break this structure, right? After this low, we did set a lower low. So even if we do get some kind of a bounce, I would honestly, I'd be more open to the idea of looking for a new bearish Stuber fib, because if we got the low and we got the lower low, I can pull a fib from the lower high, something like that. So if we ended up getting some sort of a bounce, watch out for that 786, 886 fib pocket. That would be around 63.6K to 63.7K. I don't know if we're going to get there or not, but yeah, if that bullish divergence plays out and we get there, just remember that we have broke this low here. So we do have that structure still going to the downside. Long short switched up. Actually, that's something I forgot to bring up again. I know last night I was actually quite surprised by how much of the market was short, like retail was short. But the thing is, again, going with that liquidations indicator, that even though most of retail is short, or at least not as long as they generally have been with FOMO going into resistance, we still do have all that liquidity to the downside. So even if most people are, most retail people like ourselves are looking at shorting, I feel like the people with the heavier positions must be to the long side. People really FOMOing in, and that's building this liquidity to the downside. Could be wrong on that. That's just a gut feeling I have right now. If you're desperate for a long, I mean, you could be looking at something like this. Again, that potential Stuber fib pocket, but I don't really like it because we still have an obvious downtrend. Yes, we broke this one, but the way I'm looking at this is actually the low that I'm concerned with. And after we broke that, you can see that we never did set a lower low followed by another lower low. We just have that one. So the highest point between the two is still way up here. So this would be similar to that 15-minute fib that I had pulled. You'd be looking at something like that, yeah, if we get up to 63.6, 63.7, there's just some obvious resistance there as far as my fibs go. I think no matter what way you're feeling on the market right now, Bitcoin's just at a position where you got to be careful. Like I said, on the daily, we're at that support level. It's just the weekly. Yeah, there's some serious concern on the weekly. The shorter time frames, we're starting to see those aggressive sell-offs again. Yeah, there's just a few things. I'm personally bearish once again, but cautiously bearish. Open to the idea of all-time highs, because I'll be a moon boy just like everyone else. I love being a moon boy. I love parabolic breakouts just like the next guy. I just want to be real about everything and understand that just because everyone on Twitter is saying that we have to go higher doesn't make that true. I'm actually going to take another nibble of profits off right here just in case. Like I said, I'm not, just like I said earlier, when I'm getting towards this Stuber fib, even though I'm not bullish, I'm looking at it more of a take profit from my short rather than looking at a take a new long. I don't have FOMO for the long side right now. Even if we end up bouncing from here, that's totally fine. I can always find a long position after a pullback or a new structure breaks if it starts staircasing higher, indicators start printing higher buy signals, something like that catches my eyes. But as it stands right now, I'm just looking at any bullish scenarios as taking profits from a short rather than looking for a long position. See, I don't normally look at waves. You're talking Elliott waves, I assume. The 3 drives and Elliott waves and stuff like that, I generally don't look at those too much. Like I've seen you guys in the Discord post about them and stuff like that. But I'm personally, I'm a fib guy. I love Fibonacci's. They're just so structured. There's not much to, not much left up in the air to decide about them. They're just very structured levels. So I really like Fibonacci's. Interesting. We printed a new lower high signal here. So I'd be more interested in the short setup myself. But you could look at something like this. You know, this is something that I've talked about really liking, is pulling Fibonacci's from those lower high signals. So we may end up getting something like this. Obviously, at some point, every trend breaks. That's just a strategy that I really like doing personally. Holy hell, we're getting some volatility kicking in. Basically, if this lower high gets invalidated, if we start closing candle bodies above that, I'll consider closing half of the remainder of my position and just leaving a real small amount run, because if we end up losing that signal and that confluence for the bearish scenario, then I'm just going to look at it as a sign of weakness from the bears. If we all of a sudden, we have a higher high printing, then yeah, it's one of those bullish scenarios. I'm not necessarily going to be looking for longs, but I'll be looking for reasons to downsize my short, pay myself, all that sort of stuff. Because I also really like to, when I'm looking at certain levels, it's important to consider how they're being approached. And from the bearish side of things right now, I don't like how fast we're getting to that level. Like we're just blasting right into it here. I would rather have us slowly approach it than get some sort of a bearish signal. But actually, we're approaching it relatively quickly, and even the wave master still has that bullish signal there. So yes, we're at a Stuber fib, potential tight invalidation for a short. But just understand that there is a couple things going against it. It's always good to be aware of the pros and cons of any setup, right? Most importantly, always understand how much are you going to lose if you're wrong on your position. Just consider that when you're choosing your stop loss and your position sizing and that sort of thing, right? It's always important to understand what's worst case scenario if I enter this position. How badly is this going to hurt if I lose? If you feel like it's something that's going to make you sick to your stomach, or you're going to lose sleep at night or anything like that, then you're going way too heavy into a position. You're way over leveraged or whatever. Taking a loss as a trader shouldn't really affect you that much if you're, as long as you have a level head and you are trading reasonably. A very small percentage of your portfolio, because you don't want to get wrecked if you just lose 2 or 3 or 5 trades or whatever. You want to be able to be wrong many, many times, so that you can outlast the market, basically. So just something to consider there. But yeah, we do have that 786 from that fib pull. But like I said, if we break above this lower high signal, which is around 63.4K, we break above that, I think it's absolutely reasonable to think that we would go a little higher for the short term at least. Oh yeah, 3 drives with the bearish divergences, for example. Yeah, and that would actually quite often, I actually look at that as almost a bit of a rising wedge quite often. Obviously, it's not going to happen every time, especially if you're like looking at an indicator, for example. But yeah, quite often with like a 3 drives, you'll see some sort of a rising wedge forming, for example. Just pointing it out because here's one. I'm not saying this is going to happen or anything. This just came to mind. If we end up breaking above this level, for example, I know a lot of people are going to celebrate, and myself included, but understand that it could just be, some sort of a 3, something like that. Or, obviously doesn't have to happen now, but even something like that. Just quite often, if I have, wicks or anything going above ranges and stuff, sometimes I'll just connect the most outer wicks just to look for, what potential fake out zone is there, basically. So yeah, quite often if you have a 3 drives where you have like a bearish divergence or something like that, yeah, it could absolutely do something like that. Yeah, there's nothing really bearish with the Wave Master coming into play as we test this, but we'll see. The fact that we never dropped right to the 214 makes me think there is some strength here. But see if we can get even a 1 minute close above that 63.4K. And I will be, let me just grab my other device here. I'm actually, just in case I forget, I'm going to set a conditional order, a conditional stop loss on half my remaining order at 63,422. That way, if we break that lower high signal, I'll lock in a little bit more profits and see what happens with the rest. Did we? Oh, we got a second buy signal. It wasn't higher, but it was two relatively close buy signals. So the bulls are getting antsy to pull the trigger. I don't think this box has printed yet, I think. Or is it? Yeah, we'll see if this holds as resistance. Just another reason why I want to be stopped out of half of the rest of my position if we break above this, because now we even have this red supply zone coming into play. So if we break that, that's just another sign of strength, right? Just want to take off the indicator to clean things up a little bit so we can see the fibs nice and clear. We're not getting that immediate rejection off this level, but you can see there is an obvious reaction of some kind, right? We never did break this lower high yet. Candle bodies are respecting that fib pocket so far. We do have this higher low. Well, we're struggling with it right now. Yeah, I'd love to see us get down to at least the 214, because that's generally my take profit on a classic Stuber fib setup, to at least close part of my position. And that 214 is basically the opposite 786, right? When I was talking about 786s being a level, let's say typically I would enter along there. Instead, in this case, I'm looking for taking profits on a short. And the 214 is basically the opposite 786. So if I pulled, rather than pulling from the top to the bottom, I'm pulling from the bottom to the top, looking for support bounce. And notice it lines up right at the 214 here. So that's my reasoning for the random 214 Fibonacci for any of you who are newer to my streams. Sometimes if I'm looking at an even more scalpy attitude, or just unsure about a position or whatever, quite often I'll use the 0.5 as well as my first TP, just because it's right in the middle of the range then, or the heartbeat of the range, depending how you look at it. But yeah, basically if you're looking at the 214, it's obviously going to play out a little bit less often. You're not going to hit as often as you hit the 0.5, obviously, but when it does hit, it's going to be a bigger win. So that's obviously a misconception that a lot of people have with trading. A lot of people think that you have to win over half of your trades to be profitable, or on the other side, think that if you win half your trades or more than half your trades, you will be profitable. That's not necessarily the case, right? So this is just one of those times that, yeah, you might win a little bit less often, but it's going to be a bigger win. So I more so look for the 214, but if it looks like we're finding support early or anything, sometimes I'll take the 0.5 into consideration. Yeah, especially after getting a rejection here. If we break out above that now and we take out this lower high signal, again, that would just show me that, yeah, there's a little more strength there than I was hoping. So I'm going to be closing half of the remainder of that short. Not to say that on its own is necessarily going to push us down. Just another nice confluence to see a little bit of a bearish signal come up. Just curious, out of you guys here, how many of you guys are more into the shorter time frames? What type of time frames do you guys like trading? Are you more on the 4-hour, 12-hour, 15-minute, 5-minute, 1-minute? What's everyone's jam? See, again, you can see that whatever happens here, you can see there's an obvious reaction, if nothing else, from the 786, 886 fib pocket. Honestly, the bulls are looking a little stronger than I thought they would. I thought we would have dumped off by now. So that's something to consider, but there's obviously just a bit of a pause there. We shot straight up to that level and then got hit with the pause button. I just don't like that we keep coming back up here. I would like to see weakness starting to show rather than just tapping away at resistance. I'd rather see us tapping away at support. ALGO trading with API, not using candles, but continuous time. That's something I gotta really set up some automated trading. That's something I've never done and I've just been putting off, but I really should at some point. Ideally, I would love to automate my own strategies, but I have no idea where to start with that. But that's fine. That's something that I got to look into still. We got winter coming up. Things are gonna get a little less busy for me around here. I'll be spending more time in the house and stuff like that, so I'll definitely be considering that at that point. 5 to 15, 1 hour, 4 hour daily, a little bit of everything, but loving this 1 minute thing going through with me. Oh, right on. Love to hear it. And like I said, right, structure and everything generally works the same. Yes, it's easier to invalidate things on the 1 minute and stuff like that because it takes significantly less money. But structure and how the indicators work and everything, it's all very similar, right? It's just generally speaking, the longer the time frame, the harder it is to change that momentum, basically. Gonna pop, in my opinion. Yeah, I'm not seeing the weakness here that I would like to see. The fact that we're actually trading in the box rather than just below it, rather than getting rejected. So I think it's only a matter of time until we break this lower high signal. But definitely not gonna FOMO long into resistance either. If anything, I would consider hedging along if we end up breaking this signal, coming down and finding support of some kind. Even if we just, let's say we did something like this and then, set a little downtrend, but then end up breaking it, something like that. I would absolutely consider taking a bit of a hedge long. Yeah, see, we're just kind of tapping away at resistance. But yeah, I'm not gonna FOMO into a long randomly unless we get a break of that signal and then come back, get a higher buy signal, for example, and in that case, then I'll have a better trend to buy off of. I am curious, did anyone take that long setup? Um, Again, I have no interest in it right now, but we did get close to that 786 there. Glad I took a little more profits there either way. And we'll take more, like I said, if we end up hitting 63,422, I'll be taking a little more profits, which looks quite reasonable at this point. Chaos did nice. Are you paying yourself as you go? Me personally, if I would have taken that long, obviously we would have hit my first take profit. But to each their own. Laddered in stops, perfect. Yeah, and that's another thing, right? When people were asking, like, what would make nice, high or low signal. So that's another thing I could look. It depends where the price ends up going from here, but we could just chase the price with some fibs and then wait until we eventually get down to the 786, 886. Like now, actually, since we got that new signal, if we end up coming down into that fib pocket, and there's anything, either the wave master gets a bullish signal or we just start finding double bottom support around here, anything like that, that's another thing that would consider me, or that would make me consider taking a hedge long at this point. Oops. Oh yeah, that took half of the remainder of my position stopped, and the rest of my position stop loss is at 63,666, just to make sure that I do just basically a little better than break even, right? Just trying to pay some of the fees and stuff like that. Basically looking at this structure back here and leaving a little wiggle room closer to my stop loss. Because ideally, I want to hang on to this short, but I also wanted to make sure I paid myself. So that's why I had that partial stop loss, that trigger order. There we go. Some color coding. Solana is Chaos's primary focus. Has a better ROI on scalps, and you can do decent size. Honestly, I was doing the same a little bit. The last couple of days I've been watching Solana as well. Something I haven't really been trading altcoins much recently. Solana is one that I am interested in, and it is big enough that, you know, it does have decent swings and decent moves, but it also has good volume, good liquidity, all that sort of stuff. That, and I love playing with the meme coins and stuff, so Solana has my interest. Best exchange for leverage trading for Bitcoin in the US? That's a good question. I know down below there should be a link for Blowfin. That's where I personally trade. It is no KYC. I've been trading there for, I think, 2 or 3 months now, something like that. I don't know what the best is. I guess it depends what you're looking for, but I've had no issues with them. You know, technically this Stuber hasn't been invalidated yet because we haven't quite broke the 115, but with this lower high signal, I treat these ones a little bit different. It's a little more than structure. The fact that that signal is there, like I said, once it breaks once, that's kind of why I look for it for being invalidated. My stop loss on the rest of the position is far enough away and past enough structure that I'm hoping it can hang on. But yeah, oh, Chaos, you might have been right. She is popping, it looks like. But we'll see if the rest of my short can hang on yet. I would like to cash in on that guy a little more yet, if possible. I just want to hop over to the 5 minute. Let's just zoom out a little bit. So notice we might have another one on the 5-minute actually. Actually, we got very close to that 786 as well. Ooh. I am tempted to move my stop loss up a little bit, but whatever. Since I started paying myself, I don't want to lose on this position. I just want to make sure I lock in more profits, if anything. I might consider re-entering a short, though, if we get up to these levels. So that would be basically 63.6 up to 63.7, with the lower high signal being up around 63.8. You know, if we can stay under 63.8, I think the bears are still in control for now as far as the shorter time frame. But if the rest of my short gets stopped out, like I said, it's basically break even at this point. I will be looking for reasons to re-enter a short. Basically, I would be hopping over from the 5-minute to the 1-minute and looking for some sort of structure break on the 1-minute. Again, just a loss of a higher low, basically. And then I'd consider shorting again. $63,875 is a break of structure on the 15-minute. I guess it depends what exchange you're looking at too. On my chart, I like to go by the wicks, and this is the structure I'm personally looking at, just because low, lower, low, lower, high. So that's the structure that I'm watching, and being the 5-minute lower high signal lines up there, that's kind of the level I'm interested in right now. Showing some weakness. I'm hoping we just go down from here and I can just hang on to the short, because I kind of wanted to go relax for a little while and not stare at the charts, but we'll see. Is this strategy possible without all these paid indicators? Yes. I actually didn't throw the indicators into my Stuber Fib strategy until, I guess, I don't know, maybe a couple months ago. More of a second opinion more than anything. The way I normally look at it is just based off structure. If I just remove drawings, I'll also turn off the auto charting tools. So it's obviously not going to play out every time. Like here, I can just eyeball them because I've done so many of them now. But like this, for example, so this is basically how I would teach it, is have a low, lower low. Here's the lower high, right? So as long as we don't break this lower high here, the structure is bearish. So then I would just basically, I have my confirmed lower high, boom, I have my Fibonacci pull. It's just a little easier. It's a bit of a life hack when you have something pointing them out for you, basically. And even something like this, obviously it doesn't have to play out, but yeah, I myself more so look at it, the structure, just looking at structure breaks, setting lower lows, looking for bearish Stubers, breaking higher highs, looking for bullish fib pulls. So I just mostly look at structure, but then I bring up the indicators for a second opinion. Like back here, I don't think we had one here, but same thing, right? We had our lower low. That's where you could start. So this was low, lower low, lower high, the highest point between the two. Can pull a Fibonacci like that, right? Notice we never quite got it. The 786 got front run, but very similar. That's basically how I'd go looking at it as far as structure. And actually the best place to look at it, where I just know that because I've pointed this out so many times now, having it on the 4 hour here, actually, let me keep those. I know this is going to be old news for some of you guys here in the stream, but basically we had this low, lower low, pull a Fibonacci from the highest point between the two. Notice where we end up getting stopped. And that's on a 4-hour chart. That's a massive swing there, right? From there, we set another lower low. So then I can, from this low, lower low, this is the high point between the two. So I can pull a Fibonacci from the lower high to the lower low. Notice where we end up running into trouble again, as everyone got FOMO into Trump's speech, the 786-886, absolutely beautiful sell the news event right into resistance. And then we set another lower low. So I can pull my fib from the next lower high down to our lowest low. And notice where we're struggling right now, right around that 786. So yeah, that's done without any of those indicators. These lower high signals, lower low signals, that was just done by me. No indicator required. Obviously, before throwing any real money behind any of these trade setups, make sure you're doing your own back testing. Like I can teach you, I could say how I trade this strategy repeatedly, but there might be a key point that I'm just overlooking. The way I look at lower lows and lower highs, sometimes when I microanalyze, someone might not look at them the same I do, because I can have setups that look very similar that I treat very differently just based on how the structure actually is. And it can look very close. And if you're not looking at things the exact same, then you're going to have different results, right? So I personally love using the replay feature on TradingView. Whenever I have a new strategy I'm starting to trade, I go back, kind of finding out what your odds are, knowing kind of what to expect when you get into a trade setup. Make sure that you basically have a set of rules written out, and then go back in the chart to a random spot, look at a few years of, okay, here's all my criteria. Every time I see this, I'm going to see what happened, where my take profits would have been, where my invalidation would have been, how often does it actually play out, kind of a thing. Bybit, yeah, a ton of people are trading on Bybit. I know I used to trade on Bybit. I don't think I have for like 2 years now, ever since they cracked down on KYC, or at least Canada did. Yeah, I haven't really traded on Bybit since, well, not really, I just haven't. So I've been trading on Blowfin for the last few months. I still think we push a little higher. I have a feeling that we are going to fill that Stuber gap. Just a feeling. Or we get something where we go slightly above. Either find a rejection in this pocket, or I'm open to the idea that I think we go higher. Technically, I mean, the level to beat would be this one. Like I said, around 63.8, a little bit higher than that. But yeah, even if we break and closing above the 886, that's where I start to really just feel like this Fibonacci would be invalidated, basically. Sol, I can take a look at Sol. Let's remove some drawings. Let's start with a naked chart. Let's hop over to take off all the indicators. Let's look at the 4 hour. I can already say I don't overly like the 4 hour. It's very similar to Bitcoin, hey. I mean, basically, no matter what, we're basically at resistance. Something to consider. There's obvious resistance at this level. See if I can find, yeah, basically. What else? What else? To me, if I really, I'm going to call it microanalyzing just because it's really looking at the very immediate swing of things. Basically, we ended up breaking this level. So I'm just basically looking at this as higher high, higher high, higher high. So being we broke above that and we lost these candle bodies, old support flipping into new resistance. I feel like that was a loss of the immediate trend. And to me, even if we bounce, I don't know, just be cautious with that one because I wouldn't be too surprised to see us do something like this. Either there or even beyond, right? It'll largely depend what Bitcoin does, in my opinion. But I don't like that it lost that immediate uptrend. That being said, I'll check some other things. Let's see what's the ALGO master saying. We did just get a sell signal there. It is a higher sell signal, and we do have a lot of demand below us. But we obviously have some, you can see we have some overlapping supply zones as well. In fact, very recently. It's kind of hard to see, but you can see that the red box got a little brighter here because another one overlapped it. So just showing that we do in fact have some resistance up ahead to be aware of. Let's check the 15-minute. Oh, that's a lot of colors when you're really zoomed out. Lower sell signals, lower buy signals. So that is something to consider. The bands showing support. Basically, if we could break back above the sell signal, this supply zone here, this red box, I think in that case we would be in okay shape. Because the way I'm looking at it right now is basically this was our support and we ended up losing it. So I'd be looking at something like this. Well, basically this whole range up here, you can see that we've had resistance, right? Horizontal resistance. We've tested it a few times, just going slightly lower each time. I mean, I can actually bring up the Fibonacci's because I see it at a quick glance. Notice that, yeah, we lost this structure here. Pulled back, grabbed that 786, 886 fib, and then back down. After that, let's just see if it kept playing out. Break structure again. Yeah, 786, 886 again. Where are we now? So just be a little bit cautious that we may have some resistance around 155.55 to 156.10 basically is where I'd be looking at that 786, 886. So something to be cautious of on the 15-minute there. What else? What else? Auto charting tools. Yeah, notice we have that lower high signal there still. And again, notice that since our lower low signal printed here and where we've bottomed out so far, that lower high signal is the highest point between our lower low and lowest low, right? So yeah, I think that would make a lot of sense that we could see something like so, something to watch for anyways. If I was in a long position, I'd be looking at least scaling out some at this level, but that also depends what time frame you're trading and stuff like that. That's just how I'm looking at it. Potential resistance up there. What about, let's check the old daily chart. Kind of the same thing. I don't like that we lost this. I know it's very micro analyzing, But if you're just looking at here, actually, this is something I like to do quite often. Some of you guys, this is going to be familiar. I like to remove the wicks sometimes because it just makes structure that much cleaner. And when I'm looking at this immediate trend to the upside here, notice this was a high and we broke it. So we get a higher high. So this was actually the very immediate higher low, like just the very immediate run to the upside, right? And we ended up losing that. So that's something to consider there. And I know that doesn't seem like much, but notice, let me just show you on Bitcoin's weekly chart exactly what kind of a move that can lead to, right? Is notice that we had the exact same thing here on Bitcoin's weekly chart, which is one of the reasons why I got excessively bearish back in June. We ended up losing that. Yeah, it doesn't seem like serious structure, but when you remove the wicks, you can really see that we did in fact lose that candle body structure. And then where we end up pulling back to, notice once again 786, 886. No, to nobody's surprise, that seems to be the common theme here. So yeah, I think Solana looks very similar to that on the daily right now. So, and that's as we're coming up to resistance like that. So yeah, something to be a little bit cautious of. Again, I really think it depends what Bitcoin does, but it's just something to be cautious of. Also on the daily, we have that lower low signal printed. I'm going to turn Wix back on. So yeah, just a few things to watch out for there. BTC sending. That was your scalp TP, the 786 on Solana, you mean? On the one I showed, I assume. Yeah, I mean, it could definitely push up a little higher, I think. It's tough to say because we already technically had that 786 pullback, right? It was a smaller range, but we did get it. So it's hard to say if we're going to get it again or not. But since setting these lows here, we have not tested this yet. So yeah, it's a possibility that we still get up there. We'll have to see if we get rejected there. I think it would make a lot of sense to set just a slightly lower high there. But again, if we invalidate the lower high signal, I think at that point, we're just going to carry on higher. At that point, I would be expecting a fib pull of a bigger range, more so something like from up here. If we end up breaking this lower high signal at around 157.15, I think it makes a lot of sense. We would shoot right up to like 159.30 kind of a thing. But we'll have to see. Bitcoin, look at that. See, closing candles right against the 786. So I would love to see this fib push us back down towards 63K. Have to see what happens. Holy smokes, we've been at this for almost 2 hours, you guys. Thumbs up if you guys appreciate these streams. I didn't even realize. Time flies when you're having fun. No wonder I'm so hungry. Open interest climbing back up, long shorts as well. Yeah, I have a feeling we're gonna fill this fib pocket, and from there, I'm gonna be. Or wait, it's the 5 minute I was looking at. This is the one with, yeah. So we're fib pulled from here. If we end up jumping up into there, if we end up testing the 886, then yes, the rest of my shorts getting stopped out. But at that point, I'll probably be looking at the 1 minute and trying to find some sort of a structure break and just getting back into a new short because I don't know. I just have a gut feeling that there's a big bearish move looming. Does not have to happen by any means. Like I said earlier, there's just a few red flags and why I'm open to the idea of it. And I'm just leaning a little bearish for now. This week is going to be an interesting one. Obviously, yeah, if we just end up, if we get some sort of a wick down, but just gets bought right back up and we slam through that bigger 786, then yeah, that's going to look bullish as hell in my opinion. But as it stands right now, we just don't have it yet. Oh, Adrian, you gotta wake up in 3 hours. Well, appreciate you being here, bro. 3:30 a.m. Holy smokes! No, it's only, well, it's what, quarter after 7 p.m. here. Just a bit of a time difference. Well, I appreciate you being here. I'd give you the thumbs up if I could. I'll shoot you one in the group later. Like I said earlier, you very often see some kind of a reaction against those fibs. Would love to see us test this target, but I don't know how long or if it will happen, but that's basically what I'm shooting for. Actually, I'm shooting for a hell of a lot lower, but that would be my range target basically on that kind of a Stuber setup. Anyways, guys, I think that's about all I wanted to go over today. Hopefully, you guys did find this stream useful. Thank you again so much for joining. I love doing these streams with you guys. As long as you guys enjoy being here with me, I'll continue to do them. So, if you did appreciate this video, my strategies, taking a look at how I look at everything, please do me a favor, hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe to Financial Summits YouTube channel, as well as Stu Trading, all one word, just to make sure that you catch them all. But with that, I'm out. Stay safe, my friends. Peace. Yeah. Good night for those of you going for a quick nap. Peace out, my friends.